The latest on the deadly wildfires sweeping California. At least 31 people have now been confirmed killed. This is the deadliest wildfire to hit California. Authorities say as many as 228 people are still unaccounted for after the fires. As many as 2,000 people have been evacuated their homes as the wildfires engulfed at least 7,000 buildings. Hot, dry winds expected to blow until Tuesday whipped up the flames and heightened the urgency of evacuation orders. At least 2 wildfires have spread to different regions of California. Cars caught in the blaze were reduced to mangled metal carcasses, while power lines were broken and eaten up by the flames. Looting was also reported in the southern fire area, and arrests were made by the police. While the campfire has devastated the town of Paradise, another blaze called the Woolsey fire has ravaged the resort town of Malibu. Huge plumes of smoke were rising again in the fire area, which stretches miles from the northwest corner of Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley to the Malibu coast.
We had an engine crew discover a body, which turned out to be a human body, here at this address. It is possible. It looks like there was a separate set. Law enforcement is on scene, and that's the information I got from them.
Several Hollywood stars have their homes in the Malibu area. Distraught residents said that they were in complete shock as the wildfire burned down their homes. Firefighters tried to contain the blaze, taking advantage of a temporary lull in the wind fanning the flames. Authorities have urged people to take disaster preparedness measures.
Things are not the way they were 10 years ago. You look at the fires in Napa last year, the Thomas fire, the fire in Butte County right now. In this fire, the rate of spread is exponentially more than it used to be. Please heed evacuation warnings. Do not stay in your homes to try and defend them. Please leave that to us. Please do not put your lives at risk.
And I'm joined by Ashwin Hemantaga, WION's correspondent from Colombo. Ashwin, tell me, though constitutionally the positions are very, very different, but ultimately the whole thing is leading to a snap poll. So in this context, electorally, in your opinion, who has the upper hand?
Well, actually, the number of petitions we have received at the Supreme Court has gone up, and now it's 11. And to name the last one who filed the last petition today, before the closure of the Supreme Court, was none other than a member of the Elections Commission, Mr. Ratnajeevan Hool. He is a sitting member of the Elections Commission, and he has filed a petition. So moving on to your question, well, actually, this judgment, which people are anticipating, is a great deal for Sri Lanka. It will decide the future of the country, and people are anxiously waiting to see what Supreme Court has to say about the unconstitutional moves of President Maithripala Sirisena and his close ally, current Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa.
That's a fair point you have made. But in context of who has electoral resonance, what do you see? Who has the upper hand? Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sirisena, or Mahinda Rajapaksa in terms of the public sentiment?
At the moment, what we see on the streets is generally more towards Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, because people, of course, from different classes and different political agendas and different religions have got together just to mention that they are against of the recent happenings in the country. Just because of that, and many organizations, they have organized public forums. We just concluded a session in Colombo, which was organized by civil society movement. It was represented by almost all political parties which were against the unconstitutional move. And, well, clergy was there and many other diverse figures were there. So all were talking about what happened during President Sirisena's last 3 years. Things that which were not in media also came out. Why he got rid of the Commissioner General of the Bribery Commission, and why he got back the Sri Lankan High Commissioner in UK, and why he called the entire Sri Lankan embassy in Australia back home. These were things which was not in the limelight during the recent past.
Okay.
So all hell broke loose and everything's now coming out, and people getting to hear these things, of course, would rally behind Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashwin, so much for joining us from Sri Lanka on this story. In another bout of violence, Israeli security forces have killed 7 Palestinians, including 2 Hamas commanders in the Gaza Strip. According to a Hamas official, the violence erupted when a group of its armed men were fired from a passing car belonging to Israeli security forces, and Hamas member gave chase. Reports suggest Israel conducted the ground raid where special forces using civilian vehicles went 3 kilometers deep into the Gaza Strip that led to the flare-up. Israeli forces have also confirmed that one of their special forces commander has been killed and another soldier moderately wounded during the clashes. Witnesses said that during the chase, Israeli aircraft fired over 40 missiles in the area, killing 4 other people. The Israeli military said in a brief statement that the Israeli forces were involved in an operational activity in the Gaza Strip which led to exchange of fire. Shortly after the violence erupted, sirens warning of rocket fire from the Gaza Strip sounded in the southern Israel, though there were no immediate reports of any damage or injuries. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cut short his trip to Paris and was returning to Israel. I'm joined by my West Asia Bureau Chief, Daniel Pagani, live from Amman. Daniel, it is not new for Israel to conduct such raids using civilian vehicles, civilian clothes. But what made it so important that the Israeli premier had to cut short his trip from Paris?
I think, Kartikeya, that what made this fact so important is that it was actually not intended to end this way. It seems now that the official version, also confirmed indirectly by the Israeli Defense Forces, is that this commando was not aimed at killing one of the senior officials leading, commanding an elite corps within the Al-Qassam brigade. They were either on the ground to gather intelligence about his whereabouts or to try to eventually arrest him. Things got out of hands. He got killed, another 6 Palestinians got killed, and 1 Israeli officer died, and another one got injured, reason for which the Israeli Defense Forces had to fire more than 40 missiles, as you correctly said, in order to cover the retreat of their men. So what I think that prompted the Israeli Prime Minister to rush back was to be on the ground, to assess the situation and to assess the damage that this probably unwanted situation created.
But you know, in this context, is there any clarity about who was the target? Because someone has to be high up in the ring of Hamas or high up in the ring of the so-called the terror kill list which Israel has, for them to actually cross over into the Gaza Strip and organize an operation like that. And Daniel, as we mentioned in our script, you know, 40 rockets were fired from the Israeli forces.
Operations of intelligence gathering from the Israeli army within Palestinian territories, so both in the West Bank and in the Gaza Strip, happen on daily basis. They on daily basis enter these kind of territories dressed in civilian clothes. They speak perfect Arabic. They're trained for years, if not for decades, to do so. This happens on daily basis without the media community or civilians knowing anything about it. They need to gather all the information possible about the whereabouts, particularly of those members of any organization which they deem dangerous for Israel, or any person who they think, when I say they, I mean the Israeli, they think is preparing any sort of action or attack against Israel. What we saw today is, it seems it's very credible, the version is very credible. This was not intended to kill the Hamas leader. Also, Hamas responded at the end of the day very mildly, and the longer the quiet goes on, the more probabilities we have that this will not escalate any further. But we cannot rule out retaliation from Hamas, maybe a low-level retaliation.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for joining me from Amman on this story. An attack which led to the cancellation, cutting short his trip. The Israeli premier, he had to return from Paris back to Israel because what was supposed to be, as our colleague Daniel was saying from Amman, a generic ground-based intelligence collection operation went completely wrong.